After 50 hours of play, the face on my Vapor Power 2 still looks factory fresh. No ball marks, no grit wear, nothing. Well, there are a couple paddle marks from teammates reaching for balls that weren't theirs. I've tested over 440 paddles now, and I've seen plenty of high grit surfaces that start smoothing out after just a few sessions. But this one hasn't shown that behavior yet. The embedded fine grit system, what 11SIX24 calls HexGrit, appears more durable based on my measurements and what I'm seeing so far. That matters because the conversation around paddle durability has shifted. Cores have gotten more durable, so the real question is, can the surface actually hold up longer? Of course, 50 hours isn't forever, so I can't tell you it's going to be this way in a year, but it's enough to tell you that embedded fine grit behaves a little differently. And if this durability holds up over time, that changes the value conversation compared to traditional peel-ply designs. Full disclosure, 11SIX24 sent me this paddle to test with no strings attached. No money changed hands, I'm not obligated to create content for them, and these are my honest impressions. Vapor Power 2 is going to retail for $210, and you'll be able to grab one with code MPB for a discount at checkout, which also helps support this channel. Let's start with what's actually happening inside this thing, because the construction tells the whole story about how this paddle is supposed to work. The Power 2 is built around a full foam floating core architecture, and this is Gen 4 thinking. Instead of honeycomb polypropylene filling the entire center of the paddle like traditional builds, 11SIX24 replaced that honeycomb with foam. We're talking a multi-foam setup, a central foam zone surrounded by an EVA foam band, with honeycomb staying in the handle region for stiffness control and weight management. At the perimeter, there is an expanding edge foam with reinforcement underneath to protect it. If you've been paying attention to how paddle construction has evolved, this is where the industry's headed. Cores are more durable now, so the real durability question shifts to the surface, and I think that's what most consumers care about long term. The face is carbon fiber with what 11SIX24 calls HexGrit, embedded fine particles that are significantly finer than traditional grit. And here's the thing, 11SIX24 hasn't intentionally disclosed exact construction details. They want us to form opinions based on how it plays, not preconceived ideas about materials. I respect that. So what I'm going to tell you is based on actual measured performance and what I felt on court. The core size for the Power 2 series comes in at 16 millimeters across the board. Let me run you through the numbers because they're genuinely interesting. The Vapor comes in at 7.85 ounces stack weight, but here's where it gets wild. The swing weight is 107.55, and that's well below average. Most hybrid shapes have a swing weight between 112 to 115, so this thing swings like something significantly lighter, and that matters for everything we're going to talk about. The twist weight sits at 6.6, that's above average for stability. Your balance point is at 23.8 centimeters, which puts it slightly head heavy, but paired with that low swing weight, the paddle actually feels neutral in hand. The swing weight dominates your perception of how it moves through the zone. Now the performance numbers. My measured surge speed was 61.1 miles per hour, well above average and in the top tier of the 440 plus paddles I've tested in my database. Punch volley clocked in at 39.2 miles per hour, which is also above average. Spin came in at 2,335 RPM, which is elite territory and places this paddle among the highest spin producers in my database. The surface roughness measures 8.6 microns, which puts this paddle at the upper end of the roughness range. The Vapor is UPA-A approved, not USAP approved. Here's why that actually matters. USAP caps surface roughness at 30 microns average. UPA-A doesn't have a roughness limit, it has a direct spin limit of 2,200 RPM. Same outcome, different path. The Vapor surface would fail USAP certification, but it passes UPA-A because the actual spin output stays within the limit. Here's what's interesting. Most tournaments in my area allow you to play with either stamp. That's a problem for USAP. If manufacturers can hit the same performance ceiling with either standard, they're going to pick the one with fewer restrictions. USAP's roughness cap becomes a competitive disadvantage. Meanwhile, UPA is dominant in Asia and growing professionally in the US. If more tournaments start accepting either certification, you're likely going to see manufacturers skip USAP entirely and just certify with UPA-A. If you need USAP approval for your local tournaments, this paddle won't work. But that dynamic, where equipment standards converge but one is stricter, that's worth watching. Alright, so here's where the story gets interesting. I wanted to see how different surface treatments hold up after extended play, so I measured surface roughness on 4 paddles after approximately 50 hours of play. The Vapor Power 2, Coral Hybrid, Spartus P1, and Selkirk Boomstick. For each one, I've taken the measurement from the unhit paddle, the factory surface, and then measured the center of the face where you're hitting balls repeatedly. All measurements are in micrometers. Here's what I found. The coral hybrid started at 6.84 micrometers fresh and measured 6.605 micrometers after 50 hours. That's only a 3.4% loss, which is exceptional retention. The Vapor Power 2 started at 8.6 micrometers and measured 7.568 micrometers after 50 hours. That's a 12% loss. The Spartus P1 went from 7.08 micrometers down to 5.85 micrometers, which is a 17.4% loss. And the Boomstick showed the most degradation, going from 6.94 micrometers down to 4.856 micrometers, a 30% loss. So for all intents and purposes, the coral hybrid has the best retention percentage-wise, and that's impressive. But here's what's also notable. The Vapor Power 2 started with the highest roughness at 8.6 micrometers and still retained over 7.5 micrometers after 50 hours of play. That's higher absolute roughness than any of the other paddles, even when they were new. The coral retained its texture better proportionally, but the Vapor is still maintaining a rougher playing surface in absolute terms. This matters because roughness directly correlates to spin potential on slower paced shots. A paddle that maintains higher absolute roughness after 50 hours is still grabbing the ball more aggressively than paddles that started smoother or degraded faster. The coral shows excellent retention, and the Vapor maintains the highest absolute roughness even after wear. This is the real durability conversation in 2026. It's not, will the paddle break? Cores are solid now. It's, will the surface still perform like it did when it was new? And based on these measurements, the Coral, Vapor, and P1 are all answering that question better than surfaces like Infinigrit on the Boomstick, which lost 30% of its texture in the same time period. In terms of play, the first thing that jumps out is how fast the Vapor gets into position. Low swing weight shows up immediately. It accelerates without drag. The surface is gritty to the touch, aggressively so, and that texture shows up most on slower, shaped shots where you're trying to generate spin without a full swing. Initial contact feels crisp but controlled. You get a clear read of the strike and a predictable rebound path. There's some pocketing. You feel the ball load for a moment before it releases, especially on drives. That keeps it from feeling jarring or disconnected. Power delivery is clear and measurable. Serve speed at 61.1 miles per hour puts this in the top tier of paddles I've tested, and that output comes from speed and compression rather than mass. Pop is well above average at 39.2 miles per hour in punch volleys, but it doesn't feel like a trampoline. The power scales with your swing. Commit to the drive and you get real penetration. On shorter swings and soft hands, the power stays restrained. That makes fast exchanges manageable without feeling like you're constantly managing rebound. Baseline drives deliver real pace that puts this paddle in the top tier I've tested, notable for something this light. You're not getting the most explosive trampoline rebound, and some players might read that as a weakness. I think it's a strength. It means the paddle stays controllable in fast exchanges while still having finishing power when you commit to the swing. Spin is where this paddle separates. At 2,335 RPM, this is elite spin production. On full swings, most modern paddles land in good enough spin territory. The real separation happens on slower stuff. Topspin dinks with pace, rolls out of the air where you're not swinging hard. That's where the high-texture surface expands what you can do with pace control and shape. You can add speed to finesse shots while keeping them in. Stability is solid. Sweet spot is generous and off-center contact stays playable. You don't get that sensation that the face is collapsing. Dinking and drop stay controlled. The pop is above average but not extreme. The spin helps the ball dip when you're defending. That's what makes the soft game really work here, a predictable response with few surprises. This is a fast, tunable platform with elite spin and a controllable response band. That's what it is. Here's why. The foam forward core and low swing weight conspire to make the paddle accelerate differently than inertia-driven designs. You're not relying on mass through the zone, you're getting power through speed and compression. And the embedded fine grit on the face means that high spin doesn't just show up on strong shots, it shows up on all shot types, especially the finesse shots where most paddles go quiet. So who's going to love this? Players who want to stay aggressive but keep the short game predictable. Players who like speed-driven offense and quick hand transitions. Anyone who's willing to add a little weight to tune the paddle into their preferred stability and drive penetration. Who struggles? Players who want maximum forgiveness with zero tuning. Players who need USAP approval. And players who want the most extreme pop-forward identity. If you need the ball to come off the paddle like a springy trampoline on every touch, this isn't it. I'd argue, though, that's a good thing. Next up is optimization and tuning, and I think that's worth talking about because it's where the paddle's real strength becomes obvious. I added weight using 0.5 grams per inch, a 5-inch strip on each lower corner, and a 4-inch strip on each upper corner, totaling 18 inches of tape and approximately 9 grams total. That raised the swing weight from 107.55 to 109.55. The result was noticeably improved stability and plow through without materially slowing the paddle down. It still felt fast in hand. Because this platform starts so light, at least mine did, there's room to continue experimenting. You could dial in perimeter tuning for more stability and heavier drive penetration. You could do handle side tuning if you prefer balance adjustments without sacrificing speed. That's one of the core advantages of this build. The Vapor Power 2 trades some of that forgiveness for a lighter base that you can tune up. You're getting elite spin, top-tier serve speed, and a light swing weight that makes the paddle incredibly quick in hand. That's a different value proposition. Speed-driven power with room to add stability versus heavy, stable power from the start. So who should buy this? You should look seriously at this paddle if you like equipment that's easy to accelerate and quick in hand. If you want high spin that shows up not just on serves and drives, but on roll dinks and touch shots, this is it. If you're willing to spend an afternoon with some weight and dial in a bit more stability and plow through, you'll unlock this paddle's full potential without adding so much weight that it kills the speed advantage. You should pass if you require USAP approval. This is UPA-A only for now. If you want a fully maxed out, super stable, done for you build right out of the box without any tuning, there are others that I think play better stock. So the deciding factor is, do you value hand speed and shot shaping over extreme forgiveness? If yes, this could be your paddle. That's the 11SIX24 Vapor Power 2 review. This is a Gen 4 paddle that delivers on the promise of foam core construction and gritty surface innovation done very well. You get elite spin, serious power when you drive through the ball, and a platform that's genuinely easy to accelerate. I do recommend it, especially if you're comfortable with a light base and don't need USAP approval. If you're considering tuning it with weight, that investment pays off fast. You'll get a more planted feel without losing the hand speed advantage. The real question is, are you the type who wants to start light and dial in exactly what you need, or do you prefer a paddle that shifts dialed in? Let me know in the comments. Remember, you can grab Vapor Power 2 with code MPB for a discount. If you found this helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.